So now we're going to talk about silencers or suppressors. This is a popular topic. I'm going to just lead off with a little fun fact, which is no crime has been committed with a silencer since 1932. But we've seen it in every movie, every book. Heck, I even wrote a book that's coming out next week that uses a silencer. So there you go. First of all, the terminology of a silencer. So just to kind of point them out that this, and this are all silencers. The legal definition is silencer. So if you look at laws, they refer to it as a silencer. But the term silencer is actually very contentious within the gun community. Some people get really huffy about calling them silencers because they do not silence a gunshot. And so people feel like it's an unfair term that incorrectly describes what they actually do. A more popular term, and a term you may want your gun aficionados in your books to use, is a suppressor, because that is what it literally does. It suppresses the sound, usually, not in every case, usually from something that can do hearing damage to something that cannot do hearing damage. Now there's exceptions. There's what was it, the AR-15. You might not, even with a suppressor, if you used it inside, you might still get hearing damage. You might not. You're kind of really on the line. More of what it does, though, is it suppresses it down so that you can more safely use it. Okay. I asked my husband his opinion on why aren't crimes done with silencers, and this is, I don't think I pointed at this one. They do add a significant amount of length. So if you look at this, look at the silencer versus the length. If you're going to commit a crime and you're trying to hide a gun, it doesn't really do that much. The second factor is they are a pain in the butt to buy. You can legally, trust me, I'm not going to be showing you anything that we do not legally own. Everything we have is legally purchased, following all the laws and all that. So these are legally owned. They are very difficult. You have to live in a state that allows it. You cannot buy a silencer if you live in a state that doesn't allow them. Okay, then you go into the store and you say, I want to buy a silencer. Maybe I want to buy that silencer right there in the wall. They go, great. Let me just have you fill out a huge amount of paperwork, buy a tax stamp, which is a significant amount of money, $200, my husband says, and then wait almost a year. And if you're like my husband, that means you call your gun guy every month. Is it in yet? Nope. Okay, I'll see you next month. All of the same, you have to be able to legally own a gun. There's quite a few, rules. You can't be a felon. You can't have domestic violence. You have to be a legal citizen. There's some rules about mental health, things like that. So in order to own one of these, it is quite a process. So that is probably a reason why you don't see any crimes being committed with them. They're expensive, they're hard to get, and they take up a significant amount of space. Now, these four guns, as you can see, have silencers on it. These are two examples of a gun that could take a silencer. So you can see right here it's threaded, you would thread it on. Let me talk a little bit about the science. I'm not going to go hugely in depth. If you want to, I mean, you can, there's Wikipedia. I'm trying to give you the stuff that you're not necessarily going to find in Wikipedia. So the bullet exits, there's gas behind it. The gas goes through here and goes boom, 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 and comes out. Doesn't affect the speed of the bullet. Now, if you are doing an old-timey gun or old-timey silencer, 1930s or so, they used to be done differently. They had like a rubber baffle that would actually physically slow the gun down to create a less noise, and subsequently it would also go less fast. Now, one of the things to consider with a silencer is if your character or characters are in an enclosed room shooting off guns without silencers, without hearing protections, they're probably having some hearing loss. In fact, Bruce Willis from, I think it was the original Die Hard, was shooting underneath a table, just blanks, and has permanent hearing damage. So that's something to consider if you're especially wanting to have a real authentic moment. If you're in a place where there's a lot of gunfire, no one has silencers on, you're going to have temporary or long-term hearing loss. So you're not going to have your buddy next to you whispering in your ear over the sounds of gunfire. And that's hopefully a topic I can address a little bit more. Maybe we can get up some videos. We can't recreate the sound of actual gunfire on YouTube, but we can try to kind of give you a comparison. Just so you know, there's another thing. This is our revolver. Remember, we know it's a revolver because it has the right there. With one single exception, revolvers cannot be silenced. So if you have a character grabbing a revolver, throwing on a silencer, you better make sure that you have the single revolver that in fact can be silenced. And that has to do with the physics of the gun, the fact that it's not an enclosed compartment, there's an open space, all that. Another note is that these can get very, very hot. We all know about energy. Energy doesn't just disappear, it has to go somewhere, so all that noise and stuff gets converted to heat. So these will get very warm. You want to add a nice little touch, maybe the silencer brushes their arm and burns them, that kind of thing. I think that's it. I think we've covered silencers or suppressors. Oh, and one last thing. So silencers, legal definition, suppressor is a much more common term to use. Your gun people are going to use that. Lastly, there is one more, which is a can. They kind of look like cans. So that would not necessarily be a term that I could say, hey, do you have a can? And my husband would say, what do you mean? And I'd say, oh, I meant a suppressor. Oh, yeah, yeah. But if we were sitting here and I said, hey, hand me that can, he would know what I meant. So a little bit of extra stuff there.